Hello everyone, my name's Ellie. I'm warning you at the very beginning that all the names I used are fake. I don't want mine or my parents' identities to be released, so I use fake names. This story is about my entitled and scheming sister, Candy. She's my younger sister and has always been a spoiled child. No, my parents, Paul and Jane, were not abusive towards me, but they paid more attention to her because she was younger. In the beginning, I wasn't that concerned about the favoritism my parents showed. Hell, I loved my sister dearly and spoiled her myself. However, everything changed when my sister grew up. My parents are fairly wealthy but lived a simple life, and so did I. But my sister always wanted more. She complained about our simple lifestyle and demanded we spend more, especially on her. When we didn't budge, she started to manipulate us. She always played the victim and didn't last at any of her odd jobs. She always claimed that she had been bullied and worse. My parents believed all her lies and started to support her financially. I saw through her lies and said, "Candy, what you are doing is not okay. I know that you've never worked at any job and lied to our parents about being bullied. You need to stop with the lies." "Oh, shut up, Ellie. You have a good job and live like a beggar. Our parents and you can live like that, but I can't. They have plenty of money lying around. They should just give it to me since they don't use it." "You can't rely on their money, Candy. It's shameful how much you have been exploiting them. You should try to find a job if you want a good life." "I don't need your lectures, Ellie. Mom and Dad are stupid and don't know how to have class. I can't be like them. Plus, I'm their daughter, so I'm entitled to their money." Candy's logic had always put me off. Still, I didn't want to expose her to our parents. I protected her and sometimes ignored her lies. My parents loved her, and knowing the truth would have crushed them. I helped them and Candy out at times so that my parents didn't end up spending all their money on her. Candy never showed any appreciation for that. She always thought that she was entitled to their money. For years, Candy lived a luxurious life on our dime. Mom and Dad were hopeful that someday she would become independent. But that day never arrived. Candy continued her horrible lifestyle while playing victim to our parents. They swallowed her lies because they trusted her. What was worse was the fact that Candy cared nothing about me or our parents. That became clear very soon. My parents got into a horrible accident a year back. They were in critical condition and the doctor told us that the chances of survival were low. While I was close to breaking down in the hospital, Candy said, "Wow, looks like their time is up. I can't believe it took them so long. I wonder how much longer it will be. The doctors are not very hopeful." "Candy, how can you even think of that right now? Our parents are close to death and you don't feel anything?" "Don't be so dramatic, Ellie. Mom and Dad were only good for money. It's even better if they're not here. They have been pressuring me to get a job. It was irritating. Anyway, now that there is a little hope for them, I will head out. Don't call me unnecessarily. Just give me a sweet call when they're gone. I need to sort out the inheritance and all." "Candy, what is wrong with you? Don't you want our parents to live? How can you even think of inheritance right now?" "I have no use being here, sister. I know Mom and Dad will leave me most of their assets. I'm the poor, jobless daughter after all. They have promised me that, so I have no reason to be here anymore. I'm off for a nice vacation. Call me when you have my inheritance ready. Bye." I couldn't believe what Candy did. Her sadistic approach to her own family threw me into rage and sadness. But I held strong for my parents. I emptied out my own bank account to get them the best treatment. Finally, after a month of struggling, I was able to bring them home. Candy didn't show up or even call once after that day. My parents wanted to see her, but she didn't even receive my calls. They were still recovering, so they didn't have the energy to deal with this. It broke my heart to see them yearn for Candy. About 2 weeks after my parents came home, they called an estate lawyer to their house. I was at their place looking after them. When I saw the lawyer, I was a little confused. I said, "Mom, Dad, why is the estate lawyer here? Did you call him?" "Yes, Ellie, we called him. We actually don't have a proper will in place. With what happened recently, we want to make sure our will is set." Yeah, it was quite a scare. It got us thinking about finalizing the will. So we have been thinking about splitting our assets, 80-20. Candy will get more because she needs the money. I hope you understand, Ellie. We had promised her that we would look after her and leave her a big inheritance. She was really worried about her future when we last met her. We really think splitting equally would have been better, but it pains us to see Candy in so much trouble. She has had bad luck, my poor child. You are pretty set with your finances and won't miss the money. Hearing that made my blood run cold. I wasn't interested in my parents' money. Hell, I already told you guys how I gave them money to bail my sister out of debt. What shocked me the most was the fact that Candy had been putting ideas into their head for a long time. She planned exactly how she could get our parents to give her most of the inheritance. My loving parents bought her crocodile tears and were about to give away their hard-earned money to a selfish idiot. I knew that I needed to say something. After years of putting up with my parents being exploited, I just couldn't take it anymore. I decided then and there that I would end Candy's game. I needed to do this for my parents. They didn't deserve to be deceived like this. I said, "Mom, Dad, I think you should reconsider your decision. I don't think you should just hand over Candy so much of your assets." "Why, Ellie? What's wrong with our decision? I know that we are not splitting the assets 50-50, but I'm sure you understand why." "Poor Candy has had a hard life, Ellie. She needs our help more. You have always been the daughter who made us proud with her achievements. You even have a comfortable life. Candy simply needs the money more than you." "Mom, Dad, you have it all wrong here. Candy is not the person you think she is. She acts to be poor and unlucky, so you give her more money." "What? What are you saying, Ellie?" I took the opportunity to tell them everything from the fake bullies at her job to her being mentally sick and having no money. I also gave them details to prove that I was telling the truth. My parents seemed shocked by the information. Unfortunately, I also had to point out her lack of help while they were fighting for life in the hospital. Still, my parents seemed to be in disbelief. I said, "I'm sorry I had to say these things. I've been sheltering her for a long time. I just can't do it anymore. All these years, I truly believe that no matter how manipulative she is, she definitely loves you guys. But after your accident, her true face came out to me. I can't and won't protect her anymore." My parents refused to believe that Candy would be so cruel. It broke my heart to see them in such deep denial. I knew that the moment they realized the truth, they would be devastated. I almost gave up on the truth, but I didn't back out of speaking about Candy. My parents didn't deserve to be deceived like that. So I said, "I know it's hard for you to believe this. I wish it wasn't the truth and Candy was a nice person, but think about it. Mom, Dad, did Candy call you even once when you were in the hospital?" "No, she did not. But what if she was busy looking for a job? She had promised that she would find a job and better herself. Maybe she was just struggling and desperate to find a job, so she didn't get the time to contact us." "I don't think that's true, Paul. I looked up her social media yesterday. She's having a beach vacation 2 states over. I guess Ellie is not far from the truth." "Look, I don't want to ruin my sister's reputation, but what she did recently pushed me over the edge. I don't want you to waste your money on someone who doesn't deserve it. I would rather you give it away to charity. If you were still unsure about everything, why don't I just call Candy and clear it out for you? My parents agreed for me to call Candy and see her reaction. They desperately wanted Candy to ask me about their health. I was in pain from how hopeful and vulnerable they looked. I was actually praying to God that Candy wouldn't say anything drastic. I was also concerned that she wouldn't pick up my calls again. But Candy did pick up the phone after I called her like 10 times. When she finally did pick up my call, she hit me with the worst question on this planet. Before I could say anything, she said, "So, are they dead already? You would not have called me so many times if they weren't dead. I guess I made that clear the last time I saw you. So, Mom and Dad are gone, right? Gosh, it took them time. What are you saying, Candy? It's not like that. Finally, our filthy parents are dead and they left all their money to me. It was so easy to sell the poor little me card to them. They have always been weak towards me. And I always knew the right things to say to make them give me money. But I feel so bad for you, Ellie." "Oh, really, Candy? Tell me why on earth you suddenly feel bad for me." "You tried so hard to be a good daughter and did everything for them, but in the end, I won all the money. You know, I feel sorry for you. You should have taken some lessons from me to get money out of them. Look what being successful did to you. I did nothing, but still got a chunk of money." "I'm so ashamed of you, Candy. Don't you feel even a little remorse about our parents dying? Are you even sad?" "Why would I be sad, Ellie? Do you have any idea how much I had to do to make them give me money? They are cheap and have low standards. I can't tell you how embarrassing it was for me to bring my friends home. They were really embarrassing. The only thing they were good at was making money. Now that I have all of that for myself, there's no reason to be sad. I'm just happy I won't have to beg for money anymore. I was getting tired of it." "Well, congratulations to you then, Candy. Our parents were the only reason I was still talking to you. Now I have no reason to stay in contact with you anymore. As for the money, you can keep it. I never ran after it anyway." "I don't care if you don't stay in contact with me, Ellen. Just know this. I won't be responsible for the funeral or anything. It's a waste of my money. Since you want to be a generous daughter, you can handle it yourself." Candy said that and went on laughing about it. My parents were horrified at what she said. To be honest, I didn't know that she would be so cold about the news I gave her. I was shocked to see her reaction as well. As for my parents, their horror soon turned to anger, which was clear on their faces, and this time I took the opportunity to tell Candy how wrong she was. I said, "You really do have everything planned, don't you? So quickly you assumed that our parents had died. Well, let me tell you this, Candy. They are very well, and sitting right next to me. In fact, they have heard the entire conversation." "You are lying, Ellie. Mom and Dad were in a terrible condition after the accident. There is no way they recovered from that so fast. Hell, even the doctor said that there is no hope." "The doctor said that there is little hope, Candy. You heard that one line and flew away to celebrate your impending inheritance. Not once did you check up on them to see if they have recovered. How would you know they're alive?" "This is nonsense, Ellie. I'm sure this is some scheme of yours to take away from my inheritance. You must be jealous because our parents left everything to me." This is when my dad and mother decided to pounce on Candy. They were mad and ready to erupt. I could tell that Candy had truly broken their hearts. While they were very loving parents, they were equally strict and did not take disrespect from people. They said, "Me and Jane are both alive and well, Candy. Thanks for letting us know what you think of us." "What? Dad, you're okay? Oh my God, I'm so glad you're fine. I was dying from worry and pain. Is Mom okay?" "Do you want to know if I'm alive?" "Yes, Candy. I'm alive and fine. It must be a sad blow to you, isn't it? And no, you are clearly not glad that we are alive." "Mom, what are you saying? Of course I'm glad that my parents are well. This is all I always wanted." "No, Candy, you clearly didn't want us to live. You never visited us or tried to meet us at the hospital. Hell, I even saw you reject Ellie's calls when she reached out to you. Now that you finally picked up, you immediately assumed we were dead. And you seem very delighted by the idea of us dying. I mean, who wouldn't want their filthy parents to die, right, Candy?" No, Mom, Dad, please listen to me. I don't know what Ellie told you guys. She must have filled you with some lies about me. I swear I never said anything like that. I couldn't come because I was busy trying to find a job and feed myself. Don't give us those lies again, Candy. We've seen your social media posts and you were on loudspeaker all along. Candy panicked and immediately hung up the call out of fear. She must have realized her stupidity and was starting to freak out. She then very sturdily called me back to scream at me. She said, "How dare you put me on the loudspeaker, Ellie? You did this on purpose. You spoiled my image to our parents. Now I will have to beg and plead with them like a beggar to get back in their good grace. You were the one who showed them the social media posts, right? I hate you." Dissing on Ellie won't do you any good, Candy. You were still on loudspeaker. And we heard all that again. Dad, Mom, please listen to me. I didn't mean to say those things. It was a coping mechanism. You know, I'm having a hard time in life. I just snapped and said some stupid things. Stop trying to manipulate our parents again, Candy. You have absolutely no shame after insulting our parents and planning to enjoy their inheritance. I know this is all you could ever think about, Candy. Their inheritance is the only reason you have been acting like a poor girl with no money. There is no use for the drama anymore, Candy. Just so you know, while you were busy celebrating our death and taunting Ellie, we were sitting with a lawyer. What? You're talking to a lawyer? Is it about... Yes, it's about our will, Candy. After what we've witnessed today, I think Jane would agree with me that we no longer want to leave you anything. Right, Jane? Absolutely, Paul. There is no way I would leave anything to an ungrateful child like Candy. What you have done today was truly disgusting, Candy. I can't believe I raised a selfish and cruel woman like you. Mom, Dad, please don't do this to me. I slipped up and said some things I regret. I'm sure Ellie understands why I did it. I was under a lot of stress. I started to laugh at Candy's attempts to recruit me. Yes, it's true that I often helped her get out of trouble. She is my little sister, and I did want the best for her, so she naturally assumed that I would help her get out of trouble this time. What she didn't know was that I had no intention of saving her anymore. I was done. I said, "I have covered for you a lot of time, Candy, but this time you have taken it too far. You literally wished upon our parents' death, Candy. How can I support that? You said nasty things to me as well. I will never forgive you for this. Today, it is important everyone knows how truly vile you are." Ellie, please don't say that. You're my sister. You know that people sometimes make mistakes. Where is Mom and Dad? I'll go right now and beg for forgiveness. There's no need for that anymore, Candy. Me or your mom want nothing to do with you anymore. We helped you out through the years and didn't deserve this reward. We are disinheriting you and giving everything to Ellie. Lawyer, you can go ahead and make our will on those terms. We won't change our mind. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. Mom said that and promptly hung up on Candy while she was crying and screaming for forgiveness. Dad and Mom were quite sad as well, but most of all, they were angry. I tried to comfort them the best I could. I also told them to make their decisions after long consideration because I didn't want them to regret disinheriting Candy. My parents heard that and started to cry. They said that they finally realized how much they had neglected me and taken me for granted. I assured them that I held no anger. Dad and Mom still went ahead with their decision to disinherit them. Around 2 days after the incident, Candy showed up at my parents' place. She was on a trip with friends and needed time to come and hound them in person. She did continue to harass me and my parents through calls and texts, and when Candy arrived at their door, she looked really disheveled. I guess the gravity of the situation finally dawned on her. She begged me and my parents to forgive her. However, Dad told her to leave the property and never come near them again. Mom actually threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. Candy left after she realized that there was nothing she could do. Mom and Dad stopped paying her rent and she ended up losing her apartment in 2 months. None of her friends let her stay in their house because they knew she had no money and didn't want to work. She did return to our doorstep to beg, but no one paid her any attention. Last I heard, she was crashing on a friend's couch who gave her a month to find a place. She has been applying at the local grocery stores and cleaning services for a job. I don't know if anyone will ever give her one because by now everyone knows her character. Anyway, I'm still at my parents' place and have moved in permanently. They are struggling both mentally and physically after the accident. I'm doing my best to take care of them, and the 3 of us are as happy as we could be under the circumstances. Hi there, folks. This is Jasmine. I'm your friendly storyteller today, and will tell you about how I managed to get revenge against my entitled and spoiled mother-in-law. This happened a few years ago, but recently some drama brought it back to mind. I thought to myself, what better place to share this story than here? So I gathered my memories and came straight here to tell you guys about how my mother-in-law, Carrie, messed up her life. It began when my husband, Kyle, introduced me to his mother. Kyle is an amazing man, and I would literally do anything to make him happy. I know he felt the same about me too. We were pretty happy together and close to getting engaged. That's when I met his mom. To be blunt here, Carrie was not impressed with me at all. She looked at me with distaste and said, "Kyle, is this the woman you've been talking about? You have been hyping her too much. She's just plain." "Mom, why would you say something like that? Jasmine is a great girl, and you need to know her first to make assumptions." "Oh, really, Kyle? I know a low-status woman when I see one, but since you insist, I will try to get to know her. Jasmine, tell me, what do you do?" "Oh, I actually work at..." Carrie didn't even let me finish. She was sure that I was some sort of a loser or gold digger. That hurt a lot because I don't deserve that assumption. Sure, I wasn't as posh as her, but I was a respectable woman. Carrie didn't seem to think so. She said with even more distaste, "Wait, what? Work at? You have a freaking 9-to-5 job?" "Yes, it's a 9-to-5 job, but it's actually pretty good." "Kyle, you know our family only married rich heiresses who would be housewives. Why is your girlfriend a working lady? Is her family poor or something?" "My family is pretty middle class, but I lost them many years ago. But I didn't manage to build good savings for myself. I am not financially destitute." I was trying hard to assure Carrie that I wasn't just a desperate gold digger. I don't even know why I tried, because Carrie wasn't going to listen. She simply started to laugh at me and said in a patronizing tone, "Oh, please, Jasmine. Savings? Really? Do you even know what a wealthy family we come from? We don't have savings. We have assets. This is worse than I thought." "Mom, why are you so obsessed with what Jasmine does or how much money she has? I don't care about those things." "Well, I do, Kyle. Our family has standards. She is good for casual stuff, but please, for God's sake, don't get married to a loser like her." That started off a big fight between Kyle and Carrie, while I stood in shock at the situation. That woman was seriously very shallow and equally vile. The way she spoke about me was disgusting, and Kyle wasn't having any of it. The fight got so bad that we had to leave her house early. Kyle was apologetic about his mom, and I didn't blame him. But from that very day, I knew Carrie and I would never be close. Fast forward to our wedding. Carrie is sulking and telling everyone who would listen what a gold digger I was. Thankfully, I had some great backup. Kyle put her in her place, and so did his grandfather, Peter. Peter was Carrie's father and a very wealthy man. Since Carrie was a single child, she was supposed to inherit all his wealth. That was what made Carrie so obnoxious. But Peter wasn't like Carrie. He was actually a nice man who loved me like his own granddaughter. At the wedding, Peter gave Carrie a good scolding. "Carrie, this is a damn wedding. You can't just spread lies about your own daughter-in-law like that. It's bad enough that you don't invite her to family events. All this needs to stop. Jasmine is a great girl." "You don't know, Dad. Jasmine is just a loser and not fit for my son. I don't know how she managed to trap my poor son into marrying her. I just want people to know her true face." "Mom, you will stop saying shit about my new wife right now. If you don't, I will be forced to tell you to leave." "And I will support that. Carrie, mind your freaking tongue. I won't let you insult my granddaughter-in-law for no reason. If you continue to misbehave, I might just cut off a part of your monthly allowance." That shut Carrie up real quick. She was the mute for the rest of the wedding, but her antics and hostility towards me never ended. She continued to exclude me from celebrations that Peter didn't attend. Kyle, however, did notice this and called her out on it, but she ignored him and continued to insult me every chance she got. It was a good thing that we lived in separate cities because I didn't want to run into her at all. I was still trying to have some relationship with her, but Carrie was adamant about not associating with a loser like me. I didn't even know why Carrie thought of me like that, since she never let me speak. I never got the chance to tell her some secrets about my wealth. I did try to tell her about my new business, but she walked off. Her constant humiliation was getting to me. I was mad because she literally didn't do anything to achieve her wealth while I was working my butt off and still got judged by her. I was looking for a chance to show her that I wasn't who she thought I was, but I got way more than what I bargained for. It was Carrie's birthday party where something amazing happened to me. I shouldn't have to say that it was a huge event. No expenses were spared. The grand event had a limited guest list, though. Carrie only mixed with people who were rich like her, so she had intentionally kept her circle small. I almost thought that I wouldn't be invited to the party, but I did get an invitation, probably because Kyle wouldn't go without me. Back then, I didn't know that Carrie had invited me for a special reason. That reason became clear when I reached her house for the party. She was talking to her friends and I showed up to wish her. I also gave her a wrapped gift that she eyed with distaste. She said, "Thanks for the wish, Jasmine, but I'm not sure I can accept your gift." Why not, Carrie? I'm sure you will like what I got you. I put a lot of effort into finding a good gift for you." "I highly doubt that, Jasmine." "What does that mean, Carrie?" Carrie started to laugh as her friends looked on. She has this ridiculous fake laugh which made me alarmed. She used that laugh when she was patronizing or insulting someone. She barely stopped laughing and said, "You don't know what I mean? Well, our tastes will never match, Jasmine. I know you try your best, but you simply don't have the upbringing to get me a good gift. I'm sure I won't like what you brought, so you can go ahead and return it." "That is pretty rude, Carrie. You didn't even look at the gift I bought you. Can you at least verify before judging someone so harshly?" "Don't be ridiculous, Jasmine. Look at you, dear. You grew up in a middle-class family and work a 9-to-5 job. I'm sure that your side business isn't any good either. I highly doubt you will match my taste. You were just too poor for that." Carrie said that and started to laugh with her friends. I felt so embarrassed and humiliated that I didn't know what to do. I had actually got her a pair of gold earrings because I knew she liked them. But now I didn't want to hand over the gifts to her anymore. It became clear to me that Carrie had specifically humiliated me for some laughs, and she wanted to show me my place in her life. Just because she's a rich heiress, she thought that no one could match up to her. Oh boy, she had a big reality check coming. I kept my gift back in my purse and smiled a little, and then I said, "Carrie, are you really that naive? Do you really think having a 9-to-5 job doesn't make me rich? Well, I know how working people live. Salaried employees rarely get any money at all. I wouldn't be surprised if I hear that my son pays everything for you." "You are extremely wrong, Carrie. You have no idea what you are talking about. My bank balance is way more than you, Carrie." "Oh my God, you are such a liar, Jasmine. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. You need to stop lying and dreaming so much. What will people think?" "You don't believe me? Well, why don't you take a look at my bank balance, Carrie?" I opened my phone and showed Carrie my bank balance. She was extremely shocked and taken aback, and her eyes were wide and she couldn't believe what she was seeing. I knew how much money Carrie had. I had the same amount, but with 3 zeros with it. Carrie didn't see that coming. She immediately said, "That cannot be true. You're lying. You must have stolen from Kyle." "Are you stupid or something, Carrie? I'm a freaking software engineer and have a nice business. I also inherited a lot of money from my grandparents." "It's impossible that you have more money than me. I don't believe it. It is impossible you have more. I'm an heiress, for God's sake." "Well, you keep forgetting the fact that you still haven't inherited Peter's assets. You only have your late husband's money, most of which you have already spent. Meanwhile, I made good investments with my money and established a successful business that you thought didn't amount to anything." Carrie was deeply embarrassed because everyone now knew I was richer than her. She felt humiliated and couldn't let me get away with what I said. She created such a commotion that Kyle and Peter came over to see what was going on. They were surprised to see Carrie being improper in front of everyone, especially at her own birthday party. They looked super confused and asked what was going on. And since Carrie couldn't tell them what she had been doing, I decided to speak. "Oh, Carrie's just mad that I have more money than her. She insulted me by refusing my gift, saying that I wouldn't match her classy taste." "What? Mom actually did this to you? That too in front of everyone?" "Yes, Kyle. Remember how we were wondering why Carrie suddenly invited me to the party? I guess she had planned to humiliate me. What Carrie did was unacceptable, but I still don't understand why. Carrie, why were you behaving so badly with Jasmine? What's your problem?" Carrie won't answer Peter, so let me speak for her. From what she said today and all the days before that, she doesn't like me because I am not rich and work a 9-to-5 job. So she thought that she was above me. I mean, she is an heiress after all, while I come from a humble background. "Oh, really, Carrie? Just because you have my inheritance waiting for you, you think you can treat people badly? Well, I don't think you will get to be a rich heiress anymore, Carrie. After your horrible behavior today, I will be lowering your portion of the inheritance. I will give everything to Kyle and his wife." My dear mother-in-law was shocked when her own father said this in front of everyone. She couldn't believe that Peter would say something like this. She was an all-in daddy's girl, plus a single child. All her life she knew that she had her father's inheritance waiting for her. She went around living a luxurious life and looking down on people because of her status. Now her entire inheritance was being threatened by the very man who held the money. Carrie looked at her father in disbelief and said, "What? Dad, What are you saying? You can't be serious. You won't disinherit me over a stupid girl like Jasmine? Okay, I may have underestimated her, but she had intentionally made me think she was poor. She works a 9-to-5 job to be pretentious. You don't know people like her. Shut up, Carrie. I've heard enough of your nonsense about Jasmine and working people. I won't disinherit you, but only give you the bare minimum. This is to make sure you won't contest the will and get my grandson and his wife in trouble. Dad, you're just mad at me. You don't mean this. I know how much you love me. You won't do this to me. I'm your only child. Yes, you are my only child, and I love you a lot. My love made me blind, and I ended up spoiling you to hell. You have no humility and no respect for others. I'm ashamed to have a daughter like you. Did you forget that your own dad was poor and had to work his butt off to get rich? Just because I raised you comfortably doesn't mean I didn't work like a freaking slave to get where I am now. How dare you disrespect hard-working people like that? Dad, you're misunderstanding me. How the hell did I misunderstand you, Carrie? For the last year I saw you humiliate and insult Jasmine and her family like no one's business. I've seen it all, Carrie. Just because we didn't make you work doesn't mean you can look down on people. You have turned into a monster, Carrie. Dad, I'm sorry. I was just... A sorry doesn't change anything. You should have been saying sorry to Jasmine for all the snide remarks and insults you threw at her. You think you're better than everyone here? Why don't you try and build your own wealth then? I won't hand over my hard-earned money to someone who doesn't even appreciate it. It will go to Kyle and Jasmine. You can go and build your own fortune and then gloat about your wealth. Now, guys, Carrie never saw this coming. It was like salt to her wounds. Peter, in front of all her friends and family, literally gave her a reality check, and he looked dead serious about his decision. Me and Kyle were shocked as well. Peter was an honest man who was very down to earth despite his wealth, but we didn't expect him to just turn on his daughter like that. It was truly shocking and something unexpected. Carrie understood the gravity of the situation and started to cry. She begged and pleaded with Peter not to do this to her. She said, Dad, please don't do this to your daughter. You're right. I've been an entitled and selfish woman. I see that now. I promise I won't be like this anymore. I will change. I'm sorry, Dad. You had plenty of chances to change yourself, Carrie. You chose to ignore my warnings and do as you please. Now, I will do as I please, and you can't stop me. What will I do with your sorry? You should be saying sorry to your daughter-in-law. Jasmine, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't know. Now, when Carrie fake apologized to me for her nasty behavior, it made me furious. Kyle was silently by my side and didn't stop me from bursting out at her. He knew what his mom did was wrong and was making plans of his own. Carrie's apology was completely fake and done in desperation. Everyone, including Kyle, saw that clearly. So I said, Keep that fake apology away from me, Carrie. I don't want it. I know you're just apologizing because you don't want Peter to disinherit you. You are still the same shallow, vain woman who was attacking me not even 10 minutes ago. See, Dad? I'm giving her the apology she wants, but she's refusing to accept it. I'm telling you, Dad, Jasmine just wants to see me humiliated, and you're helping her do this to me. Stop this nonsense, Mom. My wife is right in refusing your apology. You have really become a spoiled princess, Mom. It's ridiculous the way you've been treating my wife. But I was only making fun of her because I thought she was poor. She tricked me into thinking that she was below me. How would I know that she's wealthier than me? It doesn't freaking matter, Mom. Have you learned nothing from what Grandpa said? He told you that he himself had been poor at one point in his life. It doesn't matter how much wealth people have. You have to treat everyone equally and give them respect. Your gross misinterpretation of the situation proves that your apology is fake and unacceptable. Carrie was crying like hell while Kyle berated her for her horrible remarks, and meanwhile Peter was getting angrier by the second. Carrie had no idea that she was in big trouble, trouble that she will not overcome by herself. And there won't be anyone around to help her. Carrie thought that her fake apology and tears would move Peter. Instead, it had the opposite effect on him. He was extremely angry and said, "Enough of your useless tears, Carrie. My God, I don't recognize this woman I have raised. What have you become, Carrie? It's very clear to me today that you don't deserve a cent of my wealth." "Dad, please don't say that. I'm your only child. Why are you taking away what's rightfully mine? Jasmine doesn't need any of that money. I need it." "Like I said, Carrie, if you want it, you have to earn it. My money will definitely not be going to a woman who doesn't know how to respect people. I'm telling you and everyone here right now that I am disinheriting you. Everything I have will go to Kyle, and I will be putting in a significant amount of money in Jasmine's business as well. Carrie, you will not get anything from me." Carrie looked like she was going to faint. Peter had humiliated her in front of her friends and family, and Peter had made it clear that he planned to disinherit her. Carrie couldn't take all that drama. She was going pale and her tears never stopped. She kept begging her father not to do this to her, and Peter gently pushed her away and walked out. And just like that, he was gone from the house. Carrie then tried to recruit Kyle and I back into her team again. She said, "Kyle, you need to help me. You need to tell your grandfather to change his mind. He can't disinherit me. I'm his only child. I will be left destitute." "You should have thought about that before running your mouth, Mom. I still don't understand how you have the audacity to ask me for help. I want nothing to do with this. In fact, if Jasmine agrees with me, I would like to go no contact with you." "Oh, yes, Kyle. I don't want anything to do with Carrie. She has crossed her limits today and tried to make fun of me in front of everyone. It was horrible. I don't think I will ever forgive her. It's best we stay away." "You heard my wife, Mom. You can deal with your own problems while I deal with mine. Don't bother asking us for help or contacting us. We won't come to your rescue." As if things couldn't get any worse, we hit Carrie with this declaration. I was so proud of my husband for standing up for me. He didn't even bat an eye while telling Carrie that he didn't want to talk to her. He had seen what went down and didn't want to risk a repeat of this incident. Besides, Carrie had already revealed what a shallow person she is. It was more reason to stay away from her. Carrie, however, had trouble understanding what she did wrong. She sank to the floor, begging us for mercy while we walked out. We also saw that many others at the party were also starting to leave. Carrie's day was ruined along with her life, and this was all her own doing. Peter was a man of his word. He did what he said and immediately disinherited Carrie. He literally went to the lawyer the next day and brought him to our house. We witnessed him as he wrote a new will and disinherited Carrie. Peter was adamant that Carrie needed to learn a lesson no matter how late in life. Now, a lot of things happened after that as well. Peter cancelled all of Carrie's credit cards and stopped paying her allowance. It took Carrie a month to notice that he wasn't bluffing. Peter was going nuclear on Carrie in all aspects. Carrie did try her best to convince him otherwise. She cried, begged, and even kept harassing us for help. We all refused. In the aftermath of Peter's decision, Carrie was forced to sell her house. This was the only property she had in her name after her husband died. All the money was already gone since Carrie relied on Peter for financial help. When Peter turned his back on her, she was forced to look for sources of income. The first option was to sell her house. She moved into an expensive condo that she was renting. Stupid decision because that made her money disappear fast. So all the proceeds of the house sale were spent on her ridiculously luxurious life. She blew through that money in under a year. Then she was back begging for help. She showed up at our door and even went to Peter for help. No luck anywhere because we were done with her. So what happened to my dear mother-in-law in the end? Well, she had to take up a job and downgrade her lifestyle to nothing. This was her last resort before filing for bankruptcy. As far as we know, she's still struggling and even considering getting food stamps. I guess this is what you get for trying to mess with the hand that feeds you. Peter seemed pretty happy with his decision. He actually passed away last month, which is why I was reminded of this incident. You can say that I got nostalgic. Anyway, Carrie showed up expecting Peter to change his mind in the end. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Kyle got all the money, while I got the shares that he had purchased from my company. Carrie threw a fit and was instantly kicked out. This also showed us that Carrie would never change, so we intend to continue the no contact. Hello, lovely people. My name is Kara, and this story is about how I got revenge against my financially abusive husband. My situation was tough, and I know that I made a mistake staying in an abusive relationship for so long. However, with some confidence in myself and help from my in-laws, I was able to leave my ex-husband. My husband Liam and I were college sweethearts. We were exactly like those sappy couples you read in romances. I was fresh out of foster care and found my peace in Liam. He was an amazing guy who loved me a lot. Naturally, I loved him back even more. We had a beautiful life planned. However, I had no idea that our marriage would become a nightmare. Do you know what's the saddest part of this? Liam's family loved and adored me as well. His mom, Allison, and sister, Violet, took me in as their own, and from the very beginning they loved and cared for me more than I could imagine. After having a hard life bouncing around in foster care, Liam and his family were a breath of fresh air. Liam always said, "I love you so much, Kara. I know you have suffered a lot in foster care, but you are safe now. I won't let you be unhappy again. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life." Those were all lies, you know. No, I won't call him a monster. I know people have had way worse husbands than mine. However, Liam wasn't the saint that I always thought him to be. The trouble started pretty much from our wedding planning. I was actually working for my small business, which took off in the first year itself. I was making good money and didn't want to take a job. Liam saw me being lazy, and he said, "You need to get a job, Kara. Your spending habits are getting out of control. I won't tolerate you being irresponsible with money. I won't support your luxurious lifestyle." "But I'm not overspending in anything, Liam. I will have only one wedding. There are some dreams that I need to fulfill. I won't do anything to risk our financial stability." "You know nothing about finances, Kara. Foster care doesn't teach those things. When I'm telling you something, you should listen to me. It's time to stop your frivolous habits." It was pretty funny, actually. Mostly because I wasn't a spendthrift. Liam and I were already living together and split all the bills. I was never late on my payments. Whatever I spent was from my fun money, and the things I mostly bought were for my business. I knew the value of money since I didn't have any when I was growing up. But somehow Liam refused to accept this. It was Allison who tried to put some sense into him. When he complained to her, she said, "You must be out of your mind, Liam. Kara doesn't buy anything aside from her business. Even if she does, she's using her money." "But, Mom, we will get married soon. Couples should share finances and not spend money at their will." "Yes, that's true, but everyone should have some fun money for themselves. She pays for everything equally to you. What she does with the rest is none of your business. Don't become your father, Liam." "What do you mean, Mom? Why would you say that?" "Your father tried to control me financially. Look where that got him. Divorced and away from his children. I never told you anything because I didn't want to spoil your dad's image. You should stop before Kara leaves you too." After hearing this, Liam did stop pestering me about spending money. I thought that things had finally changed. Liam was back to his normal self and even encouraged me to follow my vision for the wedding. However, I held back because I wanted to respect his wishes as well. So I settled for a small wedding on his aunt's lawn. I simply wanted to be with Liam and didn't care about anything else. Well, Liam's sane side lasted only till we got married. After our marriage, he became controlling again. Every month, he sat me down to demand an explanation of how I spend my money. It was humiliating and I felt like I was being questioned for committing a crime. Yet, my stupid self thought he was just looking out for me. Shit hit the fan when one month Liam came home and was instantly pissed. He said, "Why are there parcels in the house again? You have been wasting money even when I told you not to." "Liam, I only ordered some stuff for my business. You can open them and see. I didn't buy anything for fun." "I don't believe you, Kara. You have proven that you can't be trusted around money. That's it. Hand me your credit card or I'm leaving. There is no way I will watch you spend all our money." We argued about this for a long time. He was adamant about leaving if I didn't give him my credit card. I said, "I need my card for my business supplies, Liam. You can't take it away." "I will give you an allowance as I see fit. You can come to me with proof that you need that stuff. Only then will I give you the money." "Liam, please don't do this. I promise I'm not wasting money. It's my supplies for the month. The parcel is open, see?" No matter what, Liam kept arguing with me. He absolutely refused to listen. When I didn't give him my card, he went to our room and started to pack. I panicked and gave him my card. I loved this man and didn't have a family beyond him. I didn't want to lose him. Money was nothing to me. So I handed over my card. Liam finally calmed down and promised to stay. Soon, I realized just how bad my decision was. Liam took full control of my finances. He only gave money to me as he deemed fit. I had to beg him to get business supplies at times. He accused me of trying to extort money and refused my requests a lot of times. This went on for 7 months and I couldn't do anything. I didn't tell anyone because I thought Liam would leave me. I was scared and alone, but I was slowly reaching the end of my sanity. Things blew up when something horrible happened to his family. That's when his ugliest side was revealed to me. One morning, when I was working at home, I got a panicked call from Violet. She told me that Allison had a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. We hurried there and talked to the doctors. They recommended Allison get surgery ASAP. Now, the problem was that neither Violet nor I had the money. She was just a college student when my credit card was taken away by Liam. I was dumb enough not to remember my credit card information, so we needed Liam to make the payment. I called my husband and desperately tried to reach him. At first, he was ignoring my calls. When he did pick up the call, his reaction was not what I expected. I said, "Liam, there has been an emergency. I'm at the hospital with Allison. She had a heart attack and needs surgery as soon as possible. You need to send me some money for the surgery. Please hurry." "What is this nonsense, Kara? I know you're lying to me. Stop pranking me for money and using my mom as bait. I am not letting you spend money on useless shit." "What the hell is wrong with you? Your mother is in the hospital. This money is for her, not for me. Hell, I would have paid it myself if you didn't take away my credit cards." "These are all lies, Kara. You just want to be irresponsible and spend money. I won't let you be wasteful again. Now quit acting and leave me be." "If you think I'm lying, why don't you come to the hospital and check? You can call Violet and ask her. Please do anything but send the money ASAP." "I'm in a meeting. I don't have time for your antics and pranks. Do whatever you want. I'm not sending you any money. Stop disturbing me. I need to work." Liam said that and cut the call. I was shocked by what just happened. I tried to call him back, but his phone was switched off. I even explained to Violet what had happened and told her to call him instead. I was sure he would pick up her call and believe her words. However, even she said that his phone was off. Violet was super pissed. She said, "How dare he accuse you of lying? This is just ridiculous. He has switched off his phone entirely. God, how are we supposed to pay for Mom's surgery?" "Don't worry, Violet. I'll figure something out. I won't let anything happen to Allison. I can sell my engagement ring for the money. It will be enough for the surgery." "What? No, you can't do that. I won't let you do that. Just wait. I'll go over to Liam's work and drag him here. That will teach him a lesson." No, 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 Violet. We cannot make a scene at his office. His boss is strict about these things. He might get fired if we disrupt his workspace. "I don't have any problem pawning my ring. It won't be long and I won't miss it anyway. Allison is more important now." Violet tried to stop me from selling my ring, but I wasn't going to back down. Allison needed the surgery ASAP, and I wasn't going to wait around for my stupid husband to show up. I took my car and quickly went to a pawn shop. I explained the issue and got the owners to buy my engagement ring. They gave me a good price, so I took the deal, and then I hurried back and paid the hospital the money. The money made everyone move faster for Allison, and she was rushed into surgery, and finally we were a little relieved. When I and Violet were alone, she cried into my arms because she was scared for her mother. I held her like that until the doctors came and told us that Allison was okay. She was already wide awake from the surgery about 2 hours after everything was done. When she finally came to her senses, we went to see her, and she said, "My God, that was a big mess. I'm so happy I could wake up again. I thought I was going to die." "Don't say that, Allison. Violet is already pretty traumatized from what happened. Let's think of good things now. We are glad you are safe and recovering. You will be up and about in no time." "Thank you, Kara. Where is Liam? I'm not seeing him here. Is he outside? I want to see all my children together." "He's not here, Mom." Before I could think of an excuse, Violet spoke up. Honestly, I didn't want to worry Allison after she just had a big surgery, but Violet just couldn't keep her anger in. She blew up in a fit of rage and told Allison everything. She said, "Mom, Liam has just turned into a big idiot. He didn't show up. He is not here. Do you want to know why? Because when Kara called Liam, he thought that she was lying. That freaking idiot had the audacity to switch off his phone so that Kara couldn't reach him." "What? This is insane. Why did he do this? I don't understand." "Kara, please tell me." "I asked him for money, Allison. We needed it for your surgery, and he thought I was pranking him to extort money from him. Liam has been holding my credit cards because he thinks I spend too much." "What are you talking about? Liam did this to you? Who the hell permitted him to take control of your finances? And how did my surgery happen? You said Liam didn't send you money?" "Mom, Kara pawned off her engagement ring for money. That's how we paid for your surgery. How else would we do it? It's been 6 hours already and he hasn't even called us back. We didn't want to risk your health by waiting." After that, me and Violet told Allison the entire story. I didn't leave any details because Allison kept pressuring me for information. I knew that protecting Liam would be stupid at this point. Besides, there was a reason I sold the engagement ring. I also had plans for my wedding ring. I simply didn't tell anyone about it. I wanted to wait for the right time. I wanted Liam to be present. Liam did show up at the hospital after he called Violet in panic. I didn't receive his call, so he called Violet instead, and she was pissed and told him about Allison. I could tell that she was about to tear him a new one. When he finally arrived, he looked disheveled and panicked. He came up to me and Violet and said, "Guys, what's going on? Mom had a heart attack? I had no idea. I'm so sorry. How is she? Is she all right? Can I see her?" "You have some nerve showing up here after everything. How can you still claim you didn't know? Kara called you and I was right here. Hell, even I called you, but you didn't pick up. I didn't know she was serious. I was at the office and I just thought that I was pranking you for money. That's what you said, isn't it? Do you believe me now, or do you think I'm still trying to get money out of you? I'm so sorry, Kara. I didn't know. I was just trying to teach you a lesson. I meant no harm. Please believe me. Don't worry, Liam. Allison is fine. I managed to get the money and I got my lesson. Today you showed me just what you think about me. I want my credit card back now. And let me tell you this. I'm filing for divorce. I'm done with you. No, Kara, please listen to me. Don't do this, please. You are misunderstanding everything. I'm not like that. Stop it, Liam. You were nothing but a horrible person. Kara had to sell her engagement ring to pay for Mom's surgery. How dare you try to abuse her financially? I'm disgusted with you, and so is Mom. Don't even think about seeing Mom. She doesn't want you near her. Hearing this, Liam broke down in tears. He kept pleading with me and Violet to hear him out. However, nothing he said painted him in a good light. Instead, it showed just how manipulative and abusive he can be. I told Liam that my decision was final. After that, I simply left. Violet was still berating him when I walked away. After I came home, I had a good crying session of my own. Years of love and care went to waste. I wasted all my love on a useless, selfish man. I hated myself and I hated Liam. Violet called me and said that Liam was still at the hospital and crying for 2 hours straight. When the 2 hours were up, Violet told him to leave. By then, I had packed my bags and left for a friend's place. She was aware of everything and gave me a place to stay. Liam called me the next day and pleaded to talk to me. He said, Kara, please don't throw away our marriage for nothing. We can work this out. Please come home. I will return your cards. You don't need to answer me for anything. I even got your ring back. Please come home. You can keep the ring, Liam. I don't want to stay married to you. I will send my friend to get my credit card and give her my wedding band. You can keep that as well. I want nothing from you anymore. I have contacted the lawyer and the papers are in order. I'm sorry, Kara. I've already suffered enough. Even Mom and Violet don't want to speak to me. Please don't leave me. I'll be all alone. I have been punished already. I will say this one last time, Liam. Leave me the hell alone. I married you because I loved you. You showed me exactly just how bad you can be. I have heard and seen everything that I needed. You can keep your sorry excuses and abusive ways to yourself. Kara, please, just hear me out. I love you. Let's solve this. Don't leave me, Kara. I didn't want to hear any further, so I hung up and blocked his number. I quickly sent him an email saying that we would only talk through lawyers now. I did visit Allison and Violet at the hospital. Allison said, So, you have decided to divorce Liam. Good for you, Kara. I don't want you to degrade yourself by staying in this marriage. My son has become abusive and I don't know why. I'm apologizing on his behalf. I must have done something wrong to make him act this way. Please don't apologize, Allison. I can't have you taking stress right now. Please take care of yourself. I won't stress if you promise not to cut me and Violet off. You have become a daughter to me. You have saved my life. I will gladly choose you over my worthless son. Same for me, Kara. You are the sister I never had. I would trade you for that abusive idiot of a brother. Please promise you won't stop contacting us. Don't worry, guys. I will never stop contacting you. You guys are still my family. It felt very strange to have so much support from my in-laws. I had no idea how my husband turned out to be such an idiot. No matter what, I was happy to have a family with Allison and Violet, so I decided to stay in touch with them. As the days passed, Liam was disowned by both Allison and Violet. They told him to get therapy and contact them only when he had bettered himself. Still, they were unsure if they wanted a relationship with Liam. Allison was a victim of abuse from her ex-husband, so Liam's behavior was devastating for her. Violet also couldn't tolerate Liam's disrespect towards me. Last I heard, Liam was begging them to talk to him and forgive him. Liam also kept pestering me from different contact numbers. He showed up at my friend's house, made a scene, and made a huge deal about the divorce. I was done with his shenanigans and tried to sue for harassment. He kept begging and pleading with me, even trying to recruit my friend. He was then not so politely told to get lost. Since then, we have been separated for 6 months, and in my state, you can get a no-fault divorce if the couple stays separated for 6 months. So the judge granted me a divorce easily. It's just been a few days since everything was finalized. Allison got in touch with Liam and told him to let me go. Her threats made him give in to the divorce. Now, Liam is single and apparently moping around telling everyone how he will wait for me. As for me, I'm happy all by myself and even planning to move out of state. Since my business doesn't need a fixed location, moving won't be an issue. If you have any recommendations in mind, you can help. I desperately want to move and start afresh. I won't lie and say that I'm better than ever, but I am confident that my life will get better eventually. Hello guys, I'm Molly and I'm here with a funny story about my entitled mother-in-law. Well, right now she's not very entitled because we have cut her off. However, the journey of no contact was not very easy. You see, Ellie, my mother-in-law, is a big narcissist. I have no idea how or why she became like that. I'm no psychologist, but she literally shows all the signs of being a narcissist. Ellie is an absolutely vile, disgusting person. She is very self-absorbed and likes to think about herself only. Her son and my husband Christian somehow are the complete opposite of her. I think that's because he mostly grew up with his father. Yes, his parents split when he was young. He only got back with Ellie when his dad passed away from a terminal illness, and from the stories I have heard, let me just say that his mom is a controlling witch. Christian said, "My mom can be a little demanding of me. She always thinks that she's entitled to my stuff and that I'm supposed to take care of her for the rest of my life. You know, she used to take away my entire salary when I was working in school. For most of my life, I thought that parents were supposed to control their children. But that is not healthy, Christian. You are still slaving for her while she lounges away at her apartment. This is not okay. You need to make some serious financial decisions." "I know, Molly. I've tried to talk to her. She keeps guilting me about abandoning her or leaving her to rot. I suggested she try to get a job, but she won't listen. I'm hardly able to wrap my student loan since I was paying her money throughout college." Yes, this absolute trash of a mother stopped working when Christian was 16. That's when he got his first job. As soon as Christian was capable of earning money, he was made the family breadwinner. Cut off from their extended family and under the control of Ellie, he always considered this to be normal. He never had friends because Ellie never allowed it. He had no phone because, well, he couldn't afford one. When Christian came to college, a whole new world opened up to him. Ellie had tried hard to stop him from joining college. However, Christian never listened to her. After meeting with so many people and away from his mom's intense control, he understood that things were not normal. But he never stopped supporting her financially. I did bring up the issue 2 years after we started to date. I said, "Christian, you know your mother has been abusive towards you. She has manipulated you for years. She even blew through the inheritance your dad left you. Why do you still help her out?" "What can I do, Molly? She's my mom, after all. After all these years of repeatedly hearing her say that she deserved my money, I just can't get it out of my head. I don't want to cut her off completely. She's the only family I have except you." I understand that, Christian, but you need to reevaluate your situation. You are being crippled by debt. How much longer can you bear this? Christian had no answer to this. He knew that if he kept supporting Ellie, he would never be able to live debt-free. His behavior also often made me doubt my future with him. I knew that Ellie would become a huge problem and demand a share in everything we have. She already didn't like me or the fact that there was someone else who Christian cared about. Ellie said, "Don't think you can steal my son and his money. I'm his mother and the only one who deserves his things. You are just a gold digger who wants to take away my son. You need to stop being so dependent on Christian. He is an adult, and so are you. You are perfectly capable of taking care of yourself." "Shut up, girl. Don't tell me how to live my life. I won't lose my lifestyle for a worthless girl like you. Christian will always be under my control, and I will make sure of it." Ellie's words did alarm me a lot. However, I knew that I would stand up for Christian. Unlike him, I did have a very shiny spine along with a taste for petty revenge, and that's exactly why I was able to handle Ellie without letting her hurt me or Christian. Sometimes I did have to put up with her insults, but I didn't mind. As the years passed, both Christian and I graduated college. I started to work in an art studio while Christian got a great job as a software engineer. Despite his struggles, he was a good student and managed to make it big. However, his mother continued to bleed him dry. When we finally got engaged, Ellie threw a fit about him marrying a gold digger. She said, "How can you even think of getting married now? You still have to take care of me. Getting married would be a bad financial decision." "Mom, I'm already taking care of you. I never said that I will stop caring for you when I got married." "But your wife will take away all your money. You will have nothing left for me. She doesn't earn much, and her mother doesn't do anything either. They will both become a burden to you." "Excuse me? Me and my mom can get by just fine. You don't have to worry about us. I won't mooch off your son." What I didn't tell her was that she was the one who was mooching off him. I knew saying this would start an argument, and I wanted no part of it. She did take my silence as the incentive to insult me and my family. My family never spoke up because they were big on being respectable and didn't want to argue with a narcissist. Ellie continued to try and ruin our wedding, but Christian handled her just fine. He did get frustrated but still refused to cut off Ellie. After our wedding, we settled nicely into our new house. How we got the house is not important now, so I will talk about that later. But I will tell you that Ellie was absolutely pissed when she saw that we had a new house. She called me up and said, "So, you have already started to mess with my son's money? Look at you going around and buying expensive houses. Christian didn't even discuss this with me." "I have no idea what you're talking about. Besides, what I and Christian do with our money is none of your business. So, you don't need to know why or how we are getting a house. You think you can live in a big house while I stay in a small rented apartment? Mark my words, Molly, you won't enjoy my son's house alone." Back then, I thought nothing of Ellie's words. She had a habit of making comments like these. I also had the habit of ignoring her and not giving her the reaction she wanted. That was until she did something stupid. When I was at work, my mom called me. She said, "Molly, why is your stuff at my house? Did something happen with Christian?" "What are you talking about, Mom? Nothing has happened between us. How do you know it's my stuff?" "The moving guys told me your name. And even have my name and address. This is insane. I opened a few boxes and found your clothes." "What the hell, Mom? Why don't you ask them how they got the stuff?" "I did. They said that someone by the name of Ellie sent the stuff. I think you need to go home immediately and find out what happened." I did exactly that. I immediately left work and went home, and when I stepped into my room, I saw that all my drawers and the closet were emptied. Hell, even my bath products were missing. I was absolutely stunned. I came down to the living room to find Ellie smirking at me. I said, "What the hell is going on, Ellie? Why did you touch my stuff and send it to my mom's place?" "Well, I'm here to make things right. From now on, only the homeowner and his mother will live in the house. A mother always has more rights than a wife. It's unfair for you to live here now." "What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about." "Lady, you are insane. Since the house belongs to my son, only I and he will stay in this house. You will leave and go to the house that is in your name. I have the right to stay in this house since I am his mother. You are nobody and don't deserve to be here." "So according to you, only the one who owns the house will stay here?" "That's exactly what I mean. Now, since I have already sent your stuff away, you can just go and live somewhere else. Don't worry, my son and I will be very happy here." She said that and then went upstairs to her room. I was fuming at her audacity. I couldn't believe the fact that she tried to throw me out of my own house. I knew that I had to do something. I don't want to be kicked out of my home. This home was in my name and only I had the right to be here. But I couldn't let her leave without malicious revenge. So I made a small call. Then I also called my husband and told him to get home soon. He said that he would be off soon and would reach me in no time. After an hour or so, my mother arrived at the house. Ellie saw somebody come in, so she came to check. When she saw my mother, she was extremely confused. She said, "What the hell, Molly? Why is your mother here? I already told you that you and your family cannot be here. I already sent your stuff to your mother's place, then why is she here?" "Well, you said that from now on, only the homeowner and the mother can stay here, so I called my mother and invited her over." "This house is owned by my son. You should not be here. I demand you to leave as soon as possible." I loved it and kept laughing for a very long time. My mother also found the situation very hilarious. To be honest, I was pretty mad, but I also felt that I needed some laughter because I knew what was coming. Then I calmly proceeded to inform my mother-in-law why my mother was there. "For your information, my dear mother-in-law, this house belongs to me." "Yes, this house is actually in my name. The house belonged to my grandfather who passed away recently. It was a part of my inheritance." "What? You cannot be telling me the truth. I don't believe you. This house cannot be yours. I know my son has got this house for you. Just wait till he comes home and shows you your place. I will not tolerate you keeping me away from the house." "She's telling the truth, Ellie. You have some messed up logic about deserving your son's stuff. Even if the house is Molly's, you shouldn't be so entitled. Molly is Christian's wife and is equally entitled to his assets." "I don't take advice from freeloaders, Susie. I would suggest you keep your mouth shut. As for Christian, I will stay with him and make sure he divorces Molly soon." Just a few minutes after she said that, my husband walked through the front door. He was pretty confused seeing his mother standing in the middle of the living room. He was also particularly confused to see my mother because I did not tell him I had invited her over. He came in and said, "Hey guys, what's going on here? Molly, you told me to come home soon. Has something happened?" "Something has happened, Christian. Your bitch of a wife and her mother is trying to take over your house. I have come here to save you from this monstrous family." "Mom, what the hell is going on? Why would you disrespect my wife and her mother? They are standing right here." "Let me tell you what happened. Your mother just barged into this house and demanded to stay here. Oh my God, do you know she even packed all my stuff and shipped it off to my mom's house?" "What? Mom, is Molly telling the truth? Did you literally come to our house and touch our stuff? Who gave you the right to do this?" "I'm just trying to do you a favor, Christian. You really need to kick your wife out. For the longest time, I have told you not to put up with her freeloading behavior. I can get you a better wife." "Mom, I have told you multiple times not to meddle in my marriage. Why are you still doing this?" "I'm trying to stand up for you, Christian. Your wife will bleed you dry if you don't put a stop to it. So I have moved into your house and I'm going to stay with you." "You need to stop saying it's his house. I already told you, Ellie, this is my house. If someone's mother has to stay, it will be mine. Christian, just look at what your witch wife is saying. I told you she's a gold digger. She's already claiming that this house is hers. Mom, stop insulting Molly. This is ridiculous. She's right. The house belongs to Molly. She got it after her grandfather passed away. Hearing this, Ellie went very pale. She looked at us like she refused to believe it was the truth. My mom was still laughing softly while Christian looked ready to throttle her. Ellie tried to play cool and said, "It doesn't matter. Since you two are married, this house is also yours. I have the right to stay here. I ended up leasing early so that I could live here instead of her. Why should I stay in a rented apartment when you have a house? I won't let Molly steal everything from me. You need to kick her out." "Mom, you need to leave. I've had enough of you messing with my marriage. No matter how much you dislike Molly, I am not leaving her. I always made that abundantly clear. You went too far with your antics. There is no way you are staying here. Your wife is blackmailing you with the house, Christian. You can't be with her. Trust me. It will be so much better if you divorce her. I will find you a new wife." After this, everything went into chaos. Christian started to shout at Ellie and was extremely pissed. I was mad as well and started to yell at Ellie. When I had enough, I simply kicked her out. She looked at Christian for help, but he didn't even want to look at her anymore. So I brought her suitcases from the guest room and threw them out. Ellie was thrown out with them. She spent a good hour crying on our doorstep until I threatened to call the police. When Ellie finally left, Christian broke down and started to apologize to me. My mom went into the kitchen to give us space. He said, "Molly, I'm so sorry. I should have gone no contact with Mom sooner. All these years she kept berating you, but I still kept her in our lives. I thought she would eventually change and accept that you were my wife. Looks like she will never change. Christian, I understand that she's your mom and you need to take care of her, but I cannot put up with her behavior anymore. You know that she had crossed the line. She tried to kick me out of my home." "I know, Molly. I can't believe she would do this, but don't worry. She won't walk away without any consequences. I will stop funding her life. She has shown that she doesn't deserve my kindness. I'm done with her. You never have to see her again." Christian and I talked to great lengths about our boundaries. We came to a good understanding and I was already feeling much better. My mom also stayed over for lunch and we had some nice meals through DoorDash. Overall, it was a fun day for me, minus my stuff being missing. I had a good time showing Ellie her place. My mother had talked to the moving guys when they reached her place. She explained the situation so they were willing to bring back my stuff from her house. However, that would take some time. Speaking of Ellie, the moment she left our house, she wouldn't stop calling Christian. She also kept spamming me with texts about how I was controlling Christian and making him cut her off. I immediately showed all her texts to my husband. Christian was furious and kept fighting with Ellie for days. It was like we were stuck in a cycle. That was until we finally decided to report Ellie to the cops. We decided to press charges for trespassing, theft of my stuff, and harassment. The police were kind of taken aback by everything Ellie had done. I mean, she wasn't violent, but she sure did have some screws loose. Ellie has since been informed of the police report. Our lawyers are looking into getting a restraining order. Ellie did show up at our house to scream at us. She said, "How dare you file a police report against me? I'm your mother. I deserve respect, Christian. You can't do this to me. You need to leave immediately. I'm done with your shit. I'm not bound to keep quiet every time you cross our boundaries. What you did was a criminal offense." "I don't care what the law says. I'm entitled to be in this house. You have even stopped paying me money. I have nowhere to go. You know I ended my lease to live here. I demand you let me in and remove the police report." "That will never happen, Mom. Besides, you don't deserve my money after trying to nuke my marriage." "Ellie, you need to stop shouting at my door. I already told you that we don't want you in my house. I'm doing just what you wanted. The owner and her mother will stay here from now on. Since you are neither of them, you need to leave." My words made Ellie have a breakdown in front of our house. Even the neighbors were peeking to see what the drama was about. Honestly, it was kind of embarrassing for a while. One neighbor even came up to our front door to ask if he should call the police. Ellie lunged at him and shouted at him too. The neighbor immediately called the police and let them hear what Ellie was saying. My stupid mother-in-law still stayed there screaming at us and the neighbor, and the cops arrived and arrested her. That gave us just the right amount of evidence to file a restraining order. Since Ellie was also harassing my mom, Christian told me to let her stay at our house. I was a little surprised by his suggestion. He said, "I feel very bad for Susie, Molly. Mom knows her address, so she won't stop harassing her. She's becoming extremely unhinged and I'm afraid she'll escalate her behavior. It will be best if Susie stays here." Are you sure about this, Christian? I don't want you to feel uncomfortable living here with her. I don't think Mom would want that either. I know that Susie is a sane person, Molly. I would have no problem with her living here. She's very understanding of our boundaries. Besides, only the homeowner and her mother can stay here, right? That made me and Christian laugh out loud. I was glad that we could make jokes even in this situation. I knew Christian was hurting, but he was trying his best to cut off Ellie from our lives. It does take time for people to cut off narcissistic parents from their lives. We have been talking about getting therapy for Christian. He's open to the idea but needs time before arranging his thoughts. I understand his mental state, so I'm trying to support him as best I can. Meanwhile, Ellie is still trying to gain sympathy from my mom. Since she can't contact us anymore, she has been crying to Susie about how unfair we are. She has no place to go and is currently living in her car. In her life, she has alienated so many people that no one wants to take her in. She will have to get a job now since Christian is adamant about not helping her out anymore. Ellie is terrified at the aspect of getting a job while she also has several police reports and an arrest against her. We don't care anymore. I can openly say that I am happy she got her just desserts. Hey there folks, I'm Carmen and I'm 30, female. I've been battling self-esteem issues since I popped out of the womb, all thanks to my parents, Neil and Jackie, and my perfect older sister, Grace. When it comes to my parents, I want to say that they're lovely people. But how lovely can you be when they never really acknowledged me when I was growing up? They've always had this thing about wanting me to be more like Grace. As I've mentioned, Grace is the golden child, the one who excels at everything she does and gets accolades and praise left and right. It's like she was born to impress. Me? Well, I'm just me, and I'm okay with that, but my parents never seemed to be. My parents never said it to my face, but I could always tell they were disappointed that I wasn't chasing the same goals as Grace. I mean, who wouldn't be? It's tough knowing you're the one who doesn't quite measure up in your parents' eyes. Fast forward a bit and we were all gathered for another one of those good old family dinners. You know, the ones where Grace, the golden child, made an announcement that would change everything. She said she was getting married to her long-term doctor boyfriend, who was just as perfect as she was. I swear it was like watching a real-life Barbie and Ken living their best lives, and I was Ugly Betty watching from the nosebleeds. Of course, my parents erupted into applause, so proud of their daughter for achieving what they saw as the pinnacle of a strong and secure relationship. My mom was gawking at the ring, and my dad was shaking Harold's, Grace's fiancé, hand so enthusiastically. "Careful, Dad, you might pop his arm off with all that shaking." "Oh, silly me, I'm just so excited." "Don't worry, dear, it's not like he can't fix it." "You're right, he's a doctor. I mean, look at that. I'm beyond blessed to have such a beautiful and talented daughter." Ouch. Now all that's left is Carmen. It's going to be tough to beat, sweetie. Honestly, darling, I wouldn't hold my breath. I'm only teasing, Carmen. Don't get upset, please. Double ouch. I just sat there while everyone was gushing and picking out wedding colors, just feeling a little bit out of place. But I'm used to that feeling. Then came the jokes, the comments about how no man could ever handle my so-called tomboyish nature. I brushed them off because, well, that's what I always did. But when it came to the topic of marriage, my parents' expectations were ruthless. They might have been joking, but I can assure you they expected nothing less than a Prince Charming for their daughters, especially after Grace has set the bar so high. Now, there was an extra layer of pressure, and it was beginning to weigh on me. Would I ever find someone who could meet my family's lofty expectations? Well, as you may have guessed, the answer to that question is no. I did not find a Prince Charming. Instead, I found the sexiest, raunchiest, most kind and caring, yet dominant and assertive cowboy you could ever imagine. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, but would also bring me roses on a random Tuesday. He was just that kind of man. He could make me ugly laugh, and he would always bring me tissues when I would ugly cry, and those dumb old rom-coms. He was perfect. His name is Hugh, and he is my everything. With him, I felt loved and desirable just the way I was, with no need for pretense or trying to fit into someone else's mold, which was so refreshing. I was absolutely smitten with him. Sometimes I'm convinced I must have put a spell on him or something because he was utterly obsessed with me, and I just couldn't imagine why. But I wasn't complaining, not one bit. Hugh was a farmer, a true cowboy at heart, and he cherished his life. He'd always been a farmer, and the country life resonated with me. I wasn't interested in the hustle and bustle of city life. But my parents just couldn't wrap their heads around that. Even though Hugh was quite literally perfect for me, I was terrified of introducing him to my parents. I knew they wouldn't be kind. They'd take one look at him, hear his accent, and automatically make the worst assumptions. Just the thought of them doing that made my blood boil. Hugh, bless his heart, would assure me that my parents would love him. He'd say things like, "Don't you worry, Carmen. They'll see how much I adore you, and that's all that matters." As much as I was hesitating, there was a part of me that wanted to show Hugh off to the world because I loved him so much. So during our next family dinner, I decided to introduce my boyfriend Hugh to everyone. And as expected, my parents couldn't even attempt to hide their disgust. They'd say crap like, "What an interesting accent," or "Is that a hillbilly accent?" Like, are you kidding me? My man, being the strong person he is, took it like a champ, and every time I intervened to try and get my parents to shut up, he'd give my hand a squeeze and let me know that everything was okay. And he seemed to be handling everything pretty okay until that dreaded question came up. "So, Hugh, what do you do for a living?" "I'm a farmer." Everyone in the room burst into laughter like Kevin Hart himself was in the room. Me and Hugh were just looking at each other like, "Oh boy, good joke, son." "Ma'am, with all due respect, I'm not joking." "What? There's no way you're a farmer." "Jackie, obviously he's pulling your leg." "Mom, Dad, he's not joking. He's a farmer, and I'm happy with that. He's happy. We're really happy together, and we're even thinking of getting married." At that moment, I saw something in my parents shift, and I was transported back to being a 3-year-old getting in trouble for stealing candy from the drawers. "Well, that's just fantastic." "Sir, don't talk to me." "Dad!" "Carmen, how could you do this to us? Do you want us to become a laughingstock? Are you two being serious right now? You do realize we're in 2023, right?" "Listen, no daughter of mine is going to marry some redneck hillbilly." "Well then, maybe I shouldn't be your daughter." "Carmen, how could you say that?" "Oh, don't act so innocent, Mom. You two have been treating me like less than ever since I was born. And now that you learned I might be happy for the first time in my miserable life, you treat me like this. You treat the person I love like this.
Carmen, wait.
I love Hugh. I know it's hard for you guys to wrap your heads around that, but if any of you ever at any point in your lives had even an ounce of care for me, you'll see that this is the best decision I could have ever made in my life, and I would like it if the two of you as my parents would accept that. Accept that I am me, and I am always going to be me, and that I am in love with this man. Cut the dramatics, Carmen. You're not listening to us. You can't seriously consider marrying him. It seems like we came here in vain, babe. Let's go. But before I do, I'd like to extend the olive branch one more time. I'm choosing Hugh every single time, and I want you to be there when we get married. Will you come? I looked at everyone in the room, and they were all shifting uncomfortably in their seats. That's what I thought. Me and Hugh drove back to the countryside after that awful excuse of a family bonding dinner, feeling so relieved. We knew that we belonged in the countryside among the open fields and endless skies, and it wasn't up to anyone else to decide that for us. A few months later, after Hugh proposed to me under the night sky, I had sent out wedding invitations to my family, as one does. I was hoping that perhaps the time and the distance apart would allow my parents to cool down and use their brain cells, but alas, I was wrong. The RSVPs never came. Stupidly enough, I thought that perhaps they didn't get the letters in the mail, because in my mind there was simply no way that they would opt to miss their daughter's wedding. But when I call my parents, all they would do is decline my calls and leave my messages unread. I was so hurt, you all. I couldn't understand why they hated me so much. I was left feeling helpless, angry and constantly in tears, and my husband, ever the smart one day sat me down when I was moping and told me,
Carmen, it's time to consider cutting emotional ties with your parents. I see you every day, and you look miserable. I'm so sorry that your parents treat you like crap. If only they could see what I could see, they'd beat themselves silly for realizing all the harm they've done to you. You deserve to be happy. Screw what Neil thinks. Screw what Grace thinks. Screw what Jackie thinks. Hell, screw what you think. I know that you deserve to be happy, and I'm ready to dedicate the rest of my life to proving that to you, even if you don't believe it for yourself. You're the best goddamn thing that ever happened to me, and I can't bear to see you waste your tears on people who are so miserable themselves. I began to realize that Hugh was right, as always. I chose this life because it made me happy, and I let those energy vampires toy with my emotions and make me forget what all this was for. I did this for me, for Hugh, for us. I wanted the life that we were building together, and I owed it to myself to see it through and not be held back by my awful parents and their stupid expectations. On the day of my wedding, my parents and other family members were nowhere to be found. The only family present was Hugh's mother, Rue, a kind and loving woman who had accepted me with wide open arms. Even though it was all quite a bit sad that they didn't even show up for my wedding, I accepted that I couldn't control other people's actions. I was responsible only for the life I was creating. Nonetheless, my wedding was like a dream to me, and Hugh made sure that I was smiling every second. So that's a win in my books. After marrying Hugh, we combined our resources to purchase a large piece of land in the countryside where we could live off the land and raise our future family in the peaceful environment we both cherished. I had learned to choose happiness and accept the family that loved and supported her. A few months passed after the wedding, and my parents wouldn't stop bombarding me with messages suggesting that it wasn't too late for an annulment or even a divorce if it came down to it. It's funny how they were so unavailable for their daughter's wedding, but now they have all the time in the world to text me about a divorce. Some people in this life are truly evil, and there's nothing you can do about it. Their persistent prying and lack of support left me with no choice but to block them. I had decided that I wanted nothing more to do with my parents, who had shown time and time again that they didn't care about my happiness at all. Hugh was proud of me for choosing myself. Our bond only grew stronger, and I cherished him even more. We poured our hearts and efforts into improving our farm. With Hugh's background in farming, it didn't take long before it became a tremendous success. We started supplying local grocery shops and even some high-end chains with high-quality produce, dairy, honey, and meat. Our farm was on the rise, and we couldn't have been happier. Then came the news that I was pregnant after our second anniversary. Our hearts were filled with joy as we looked forward to growing our family. Life was sweeter than ever, and my love for Hugh and our growing family was unwavering. I no longer dwelled on my awful parents. I had healed from all the emotional baggage they had dumped on me and was now living a life full of happiness and love. We were sitting around the bonfire one beautiful and starry night when Rue leaned in and said, "Carmen, I'm so sorry to bring this up, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but have you heard from your parents lately? There's a reason why I'm asking." I took a moment before replying. I blocked them a while ago. I honestly have no idea what's going on with them, and I don't care to find out. Why are you asking? Rue's face turned kind of pale and said, "You know, Carmen, I overheard people talking at the market today. They were discussing a high-rise doctor who's getting sued by his in-laws for medical malpractice on his father-in-law. It's become quite the town's gossip." Hugh and I shared a confused look. People all over town are talking about how conflicted the doctor's wife is, not knowing whether she should stay with him or leave, and the in-laws are furious with her because she chooses to stand by her husband. So now she's estranged from her parents. It sounds really messy. The story was intriguing, but I refused to believe it was about my parents. I thought it had to be a completely different family, as my parents couldn't possibly end up in such a predicament. Not the perfect golden child being disgraced. Surely hell would have frozen over first. Hugh and I decided to brush off the story Rue had told us, chalking it up to mere local gossip. Our life was so full, our farm flourishing, and with a baby on the way, we had little time to dwell on such matters. A couple of months later, we found ourselves at the farm participating in a massive interview with a local news station about our success story. I was unmistakably pregnant, which added to the buzz of it all. Honestly, we looked like your typical white picket fence family, except in the country, and we both beamed with excitement as we shared our journey and dreams to the interviewer, no doubt gaining us more success and fame. The interview was successful but long and exhausting. I obviously couldn't stand for extended periods, so we wrapped it up earlier than planned. As we drove back to our massive ranch house, we noticed a familiar car in the driveway. My heart sank as I realized it was my parents' car. What the hell were they doing here? We also noticed Rue's car in the driveway, which was unusual, but it made sense since there was no other way for Neil and Jackie to be here. Even then, Hugh and I were confused because my parents had never met Rue before. Because they missed the wedding and refused to be a part of my life. I didn't know what I was supposed to be expecting, but I braced myself anyway. We cautiously entered our home, and there we found Neil and Jackie, and let me tell you, it was not looking good. My dad was in a wheelchair with a stomach bug, looking quite like the Tim Burton movie. Both of my parents looked exhausted and angry, like their faces had been so weary, as if they were traveling the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. The situation was confusing, to say the least. As we entered the room, Rue and my parents finally noticed our return. Rue broke the silence, saying, "Ah, you two are back. How did the interview go? Neil, Jackie, meet my son and my beautiful daughter-in-law, but I'm sure you don't need an introduction." "What's going on?" "Oh, Carmen, my beautiful baby." "What?"
We missed you so much, and we see what you've done for yourself out here, and you're pregnant.
Yes, obviously.
Why didn't you tell me?
Why on earth would I tell you that?
Oh, come on, Carmen. Are you seriously still angry about what happened last time? I'll admit I had my doubts about this arrangement.
Doubts? More like full-blown reservations.
Hugh, please, the way we spoke when we last saw each other, I wanted to put that behind us.
What the hell are you two doing here, and what the hell happened to Dad?
My parents began to tell Hugh and me their side of the story, looking embarrassed as they should. It turned out that the story that Rue had told us around the fire a couple of months ago was actually about my parents and Harold and Grace. Neil explained that he needed surgery due to his bowel problems, so he went to his sister-in-law, Harold, and probably went at a family discount too. However, Harold proved to be pretty careless, according to Neil, and he ended up botching his surgery and leaving him in a wheelchair with a colostomy bag collecting his waste. Yikes. The situation was humiliating, and you could see it had taken a heavy toll on their marriage. Then I asked about Grace, and Neil and Jackie looked even more uncomfortable. They revealed that they weren't really on speaking terms with her at the moment because Grace had chosen to stand by her husband rather than supporting her parents. Hugh then asked how they had contacted Rue. Rue chimed in, explaining that Neil and Jackie thought they could trick her into providing charity service because she ran a small lodge in the countryside which served as a bed and breakfast. They didn't think that I knew who they were, but I told you I'm thorough and I do my research. So while they thought they had the one up on me, I was 3 steps ahead of them. How could you do this to us? Lie to us like this? Why didn't you just tell us you knew it was us? You can see we're clearly struggling, and this is how you treat us?
Rue couldn't help but express her thoughts, calling Neil and Jackie pathetic parents for their actions. Jackie started crying, mentioning that they were running low on money to cover their legal fees while trying to sue Harold as well as Neil's medical expenses. Finally, I asked them directly what they wanted from me and why they were here, and a heavy silence in the air. Neil finally spoke up, saying, "Carmen, we've missed you and we need your help, please." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I burst into laughter, and they all exchanged confused glances. I took a deep breath and said, "All my life I've been treated like a second-class citizen in my own home. The people who were supposed to love me only treated me poorly. They treated me like crap when I wanted to marry the love of my life, and now they're crawling back. Karma is a real bitch, isn't it?" Neil and Jackie looked taken aback, unsure of what to say next. Good for them. How could you speak to your parents that way? What is wrong with you? Can't you see that we're struggling here? That's when Hugh couldn't contain his anger any longer and shouted at them. You've lost all respect here. You have no right to be on our property, and you have no right to speak to my wife this way. You haven't even apologized for what you've done. You're just expecting me to bend over backwards to help you? I mean, seriously, who does that? Neil and Jackie seemed genuinely surprised by my response, and their faces fell. You've been dead to me since my wedding day. I don't want you in my life, and I won't include you in my baby's life either. Get the hell out. Jackie began to cry, saying she wanted to see her grandchild, and this was the worst thing I could do to her. I firmly said no and told them to leave once again, warning them that they'd be escorted out by the sheriff if necessary and that they would never get a dime from any of us. After some yelling and retaliation, they eventually left our property, rejected and clearly not having achieved what they had hoped for. Must suck to be them. Once Hugh helped Neil into the car, which must have been embarrassing, they drove off, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. It was like a heavy burden had been lifted from my shoulders, and I couldn't help but just sob. These tears were different. They were happy tears because for the first time I felt truly free from the grip of my awful parents. Hugh and Rue held me, and they told me that everything would be okay, and I knew it would be eventually. Seeing them alone was too much contact for my unborn baby. and I wanted to make sure they never get the chance to harass this family again. A couple of weeks after the incident, I noticed that Neil and Jackie were still trying their luck. They had seen our interview and the success of our farm and found their way to my social media accounts where they began harassing me. They claimed it was my duty to help my parents despite everything they had put me through. The audacity to try and weasel their way back into my life after everything they put me through was something that needed to be studied. Have they no shame? I blocked and reported them on their accounts, but they persisted and they created new accounts to continue harassing me. I was left with no other choice but to seek restraining orders to ensure I'd never have to hear from them again. It was time to protect my own happiness and the life I was building with Hugh and my baby. I knew they were struggling, and that was the sweetest revenge I could ever get from them. The way that I needed them when I was growing up was how they needed me now, and all I did was reciprocate their actions, and clearly they were mad at that because they thought that they could get away with their neglect and abuse.